want some coffee too. Good morning, our amazing souls. Good morning to you. The birds are chirping. I mean, it's a little chirp.
Hey. Right, because you know it's fall now.
Oh my God. Every time y'all say
this
fall, I
breeze?
think about how much I love fall.
Yes, now fall is my favorite.
It's my favorite
season.
Yes.
It's that in between.
It's our favorite season, y'all. Yes. So listen.
We're going to fall into this topic. I tell you that much. My brain was on the bed thinking, honey. I said, Lord.
And so, because we always have pre-game and post-game, because, you know, honey, we always conversing. Before the coffee, with the coffee, after the coffee, making the coffee. So,
as soon as we wake up.
Yes.
If she ain't sending me a video, we wake up conversing, okay?
About something, okay?
That part.
Sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's not.
That part.
But either way,
we got to cry or you gonna laugh.
We trying to understand. And right now, Kia has a question for the people. Kia, what is your question?
So, my question is, could you explain to me why does the government go through a shutdown? It seems like every year. Why are they shutting down? Like, what's the cause of the government, American government shutdown? Like, I really need everyone's perspective and make me understand why do we have a
what
government
would cause the government to
year?
shut down?
Yeah, what are the causes of what's, because we don't know, right? I know we don't know. But what are the causes of the government shutdown? I ain't gonna say a government, I'm saying our government, the American government shutdown. It seems like I hear this every year. So it's just amazing to me. So I just want us to talk about that this morning with our coffee. Or whatever you're drinking. So y'all guys, if you're tuning in, welcome, good morning. And we're going to be talking about the great old American government shutdown currently. So that's my question. I was like, girl, explain to me what is going on with this government shutdown? Why they always got to be shutting down? What's causing them to actually potentially have a government shutdown? Because I don't think they shut down yet, right? They're trying to see if they're going to shut down.
Yeah, because they shut down because it's almost like the president at the time is proposing a budget that they need approved, because nothing that they do can be done without it being approved by, you know, the Senate and the House and, you know, just the other constituents that represents all of the states that are part of the whole process of the United States of America. So when the president is saying that they need this certain type of money for this certain thing, and they're waiting for the budget to be approved, it's almost like a forced shutdown.
Okay. So he's waiting for things to get approved, what that he's trying to put into place. And until the sides come into agreement, then we're possibly facing a shutdown. Or we're actually in a shutdown. We trying to see if we're going to revive from the shutdown?
Perhaps. Let me see. Are we currently in a shutdown?
So is we shut down, or is there saying we are facing a actual possible shutdown if they don't come into agreement?
Ooh, okay. So they say, it says, what happens if the U.S. government shuts down? That's why I love this magic thing we got, because it's like encyclopedia. Before we had to go find the book. Now we can just Google it. It says, when there is a government shutdown, federal agencies are required to classify their employees as either essential or non-essential. The employees classified as essential continue to work during the shutdown, but without pay. Employees classified as non-essentials are laid off and without pay.
Oh. So
because they're saying we don't have enough money right now to pay certain areas, let's say, right? So at one point, the teachers was waiting to get paid. I believe what year was that? Was it 2 years ago when they had a shutdown and the teachers was backed up off a pay, right? They were like, it was past a month or so and they still had it. And I think some of them was on set where they get paid once a month and they had not got paid. So sometimes you got, like it was just saying, like governmental agencies. So now, because even the people that are staying, it's like the strike. A shutdown is kind of like a strike, but they call it shutdown because it's the government, for God's sakes, right? So when the writers went on strike, it was almost like, yeah, now you're marching for people to give you a certain something, you're waiting. And then, like I said, the consequence of the shutdown or the consequence of the strike is that people are now not working with no pay, right? Who may not have what is the word? Oh God, what is the word of the groups that cover you?
The unions.
Unions. There you go. And they may not have unions and stuff like that, which actually fight for them. So when you got a union, you could get paid while you're fighting because there's a funding and there's all of that is already put in place for that, right? For just in case. But in a lot of issues or situations when there's nothing already put in place, a shutdown means you just ain't getting paid. People ain't getting paid. That's what that means. And even with that was very interesting because I didn't know that because it says that but still nobody's getting paid. Either you working with no pay or you fired. You're laid off without pay. But either way, it says without pay because right now there are no finances. So I don't know that they don't give you back the money. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. We know they got money because they got it for the wars and they got it for all of the busloads of
so they don't have people
immigrants.
So they don't have the money for the people that works for them.
I don't know if they don't have the money for the people that work for them or they're just shutting down because they want a certain thing approved by them. And so if I do a governmental shutdown, it'll force you to hurry up and get to a resolution about maybe the budget, so it really depends.
Feel sorry for the people.
Right. So it really depends on what the shutdown is about. Is it because they're waiting for them to actually pay something? Is it before because they're waiting for them to sign a bill that releases nothing? Because the longest shutdown they have here was a 34-day shutdown. They said the longest on record they lasted from December 2018 until January 2019. Because a lot of times they come up to a resolution quick.
And what happened?
And they said when Donald Trump refused to sign any appropriations bill that did not include $5.7 billion funding for a labor war along the U.S. border.
A border war.
Yeah. The closure damaged Trump's poll ratings.
And I wish we had a goddamn now. You see that? I'm gonna stand up.
So they wanted $5.7 billion funding to create a wall, and I know they spent over $10 billion to house them,
and they still coming.
Right. So you see, but he did a shutdown because they would not refuse to sign any appropriations bill. He didn't get his bill, so he's like, I'm not releasing nothing because he got to sign it. Yes, you see, so it becomes a couple in the fight.
So what is it that
a governmental shutdown is like a couple in the fight here?
I wonder what is it that he wants now because it's the president, right? The president is wanting something. So what is it that he's looking for the both side parties to agree on? I wonder what is it? Do you know? You don't know? What is it that he's trying to get in place?
I don't know, but this is how we prepare. They said this is how you prepare for a shutdown. First, understand what a government shutdown is. 2, check your financial emergency funds. 3, look at your government payment needs. 4, review your travel plans. 5, hold back on large purchases. And 6, revisit your long-term financial plan. So it's just really meaning it's like a budget time. When they do a shutdown, it's going straight for the budgeting and the like that part, right? They said they want to classify who's essential and who's non-essential. So what is being overlooked. It's a budget assessment real quick when you realize that you are overexpended somewhere, and we checks and balances. That's it. Period. Point blank. And so, of course, if you're it's no coincidence if you're putting all this money out into other people's wars and putting all this money out into all these new things, you are bound to run out of money.
And the question
for your people,
what money is coming into America? What's made in America?
And our dollar, we're losing our dollar day by day, honey.
So what?
Okay, so let's see. Why is the government trying to shut down? It says Congress appears to be on track to trigger a government shutdown on October 1st, 2023, because it is not expected to pass the 12 appropriations bills that fund government operations before the start of the new fiscal year. Once again, is because the bills are not passed. If you do not sign the bills in a timely manner, it becomes a shutdown. Because it's 12 of them now, they say. Is not because it is not expected to pass the 12 appropriations bills that fund government operations. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Each one, like he said, he shut down the government because he was waiting for them to sign that $5.7 billion bill to build the wall. Every time a government come in, a president come on, you could go onto that page and it'll tell you how much money it has for that presidency. And then it'll show all the different areas that they want to appropriate the funds to, right? So if it says that right now the government is getting, and they get trillions of dollars every new presidency term, right? Every year, fiscal year. Every year that thing goes out. So now it's like, okay, this is how much money we got. These are all the areas that we need to appropriate this bottom line to, because we're fighting for this, we want this, we want this, we want this. Now the people in the room will say, oh, that gonna wait. And they can't come to an agreement on, let's say, how much they want to give to that specific area. Because it says it's 12. And they haven't come to agreement on what is 12 different areas that must be agreed upon before you can even go into, right? And so now it's like you got idle money, right? Let me give you an example. You know how they say that you get every year they have people who are going to get scholarships, and there's this much money every year. And if nobody gets that year or applies for those things, all that money is sitting there. It goes back, right? They say it's millions of dollars that go back that people never even applied for certain things. It's the same concept, right? So the money is sitting there. But until we agree as a collective, which is why this is America and we're supposed to everybody's got something in the pot. Until we collectively agree on the price and the appropriation of the money,
how much goes to what?
How much goes to where? We can't even begin to start anything until we say, okay, this is the budget for the governmental jobs, and we need 200 billion to go here, 200 million to go here. We need 375 million to go. We need such a trillion to go here. We need, so now we got all these bills on the table, and we trying to figure out who gonna win.
Because they just did the expansion of the Medicaid, right?
Okay. So a portion got signed. That got signed, right? Okay, but right now we still got 12. Right. So right now they're saying we still got 12 bills on the table that haven't been signed or appropriated for the fiscal year, because their fiscal year is different. I think they end about. We're going into our third quarter, but I think their fourth quarter, right? So they're like 3 months different, which is how you plan. You see what I'm saying? Right now I'm going into my 90 day for October, but it's really set me in motion for January, the new year. Right. Because by the 90 days is over, now I'm going to get benefits. So you always want to know if this is the time your deadline is, then you need to be 90 days before that to set a plan in motion to activate by the time you actually want stuff to take thing. So if you saying, oh, I got a New Year's resolution, then you can't start in the new year because we know 90 days is what it requires to get benefits. So not even 30 days. 30 days you form habits. 90 days you get benefits because you could be going to work on time for 30 days straight. But in that 40 month, you all of a sudden you lose your thing because some people lose their fizzle. So I need to see a quarter of your life. Can you go strong in this momentum with accuracy and dependency before I give you my benefit? That's why they were saying, even in relationship, right? I want to see how long you're going to date me before you're going to benefit from my loins. Right? So that now I know if you're worth me not feeling robbed because you already gave me 90 days of your time. So even if I think that you deserved it, you may lose the job in the 5th month. But in the 3rd month when I gave it to you, there's no regret because you earned your stuff, right? So if you think about it like, like that.
Come on, Jacob. What? Hey, Jacob.
Good morning.
Good morning, Jacob.
So if you think about it like that,
government shutdown is crazy.
So like I said, it's
I see why they go through this every year
because they arguing. It's like people in a relationship that don't get along.
It's like
could you imagine
opinions and two different? Oh, this relationship is crazy.
I be arguing with Rhonda about sports because it's like he's into sports strong with the kids, and I'm a mom who's nervous and it's like. You're gonna be banging heads, and something has to be done.
And you got
so say if you don't want him and he does want him, a bridge has to be met. Otherwise, nothing gets done. So it's an argument. It's a couple in an argument, and they got all this money, and they trying to decide what they buy first. What is more important?
Who gonna get how much?
Because your husband is going to get the cars, and the wife is going to get the pocketbooks, and the kid want to go get the shoes, and everybody got this overall price. But we all in the family now. But I want to I need to start my business.
The question is, how much should I give you? It's like allowance.
Right.
It's like allowance. How much allowance are you gonna get for what you trying to do?
You're right. And so do I think that what you're trying to do is as important as
do
this?
I feel?
Right. Do I feel?
Do I feel?
And we in our feelings. And America is in their feelings.
Yes, Jacob. Welcome to Wisdom Wednesday.
Hello.
I love y'all so much. We love you too.
We love you too, Jacob.
You keep the conversation going,
that part.
Honey.
Yes. What say you, Jacob, about this? What say
you, Jacob?
Did you think America stays in a discourse in their relationship?
This government shutdown. Give us your perspective. What you feel about?
And you did make a good point. Ever since the pandemic, it seems like the new norm. They're always threatening a shutdown.
I'm like,
every year.
But now I could understand.
Now you understand.
The president is making stuff, and he's like, "This is what I want." Now it's up to y'all to all come together to say, "Yes, this is what."
That's why they're always fighting in the House, and they're always trying to have more representatives in the House. It's the vote. It's a vote.
I need at least this many people to say yay
for it to get passed.
For me to say yup, stamp it is.
But then the other person saying, "Yeah, I can do you, but you got to do me." You know that, right?
This is what we want over here. So if you agree to give us what we want over here, we'll say yes. So that, and there's too many of them. Yeah. Oh, Lord.
So you got all of these different things, and you got this one fighting and this one, and y'all got two different understandings. So because y'all have two different value systems, the level in which your list of importance to least important is going to be different if your value system is different. So one person may say financial is the top thing, so their value system is going to be running at that. Somebody else might say, quality time is a valuable thing, so they're running for that. Right? So
fossil fuels, environmental stuff, right? So that's my thing. I'm more into that,
and I'm passionate about it because I'm here because it is my purpose. So now everybody's fighting over their passion and their purpose, and now the budget to be like, okay, you got all this money. How are we going to appropriate these funds?
Yes.
So that everybody can get, and so the dilemma is saying what is more important, who needs what, and so I'll shut this whole down before anybody get nothing. And that's
the people just suffer. It's always the people that suffer. You know, in relationships, the kids always. It's always somebody.
We the kids. We America's
kids. Oh yeah,
we are America's kids. So that's why we go to that thing and make it make
suffer.
sense.
That's all I was asking, because somebody
y'all divorcing and y'all fighting all in our face, and we don't even know what the hell going on.
We suffering.
And we're gonna have to deal with whatever happens. You the kids. So whether they work it out or they separate, you still a little person that's just waiting to see
how it's gonna end up.
Who you gonna end up with?
Who you with? How it's gonna
who gonna have the better case, and who gonna end up with you? And you just dangling, not dangling. The dingling is what got you here, but dangling around,
Lord,
waiting for them to come up with.
Drink some coffee,
girl. Miss my morning.
You know what? That's why you woke up late.
No, I missed my morning thing. That one got to do
I got
to get it on. Okay, so what does Jacob say? Go ahead, Gil.
Yes, America stays in a disarray and economic crisis. The whole automotive industry and the union workers are on strike. It's really bad in Detroit and New York.
That's what I'm saying. It's so much crazy. It's
all
everywhere.
These strikes going on.
The writers' strike,
and
the automotive strike.
Because these companies are greedy. They're making all of this money and don't want to disperse it to the people making them the money. You won't make money if it ain't for the workers.
Girl, I know so how much of it? Yes, girl. Yes.
Are you want to take? I mean, come on. You thought of it. It's your company. Kudos to you. But I'm just saying, you gotta respect the people who even
the essential.
Come on, they are essential to you. They are the business. You just the name, but they are the business. They are the driving force that does everything that makes the business what it is.
They are your business
momentum. And you mean to tell me?
Yes, girl.
You can't share more of that profit with the people who, if it wasn't for them, you wouldn't have a business. You just got an idea and they make it come together.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand that. Yes, Jacob.
A one-woman show ain't no show.
It ain't. It takes a team, and the owners ain't even on the line doing nothing.
Boy, listen, did we not just say that before we went? That was our post conversation.
What happened? Economically, we doing much better.
Well, did I not just say that?
Economically, come on, Jacob. See, that's what I was talking about. What say you? Economically, we doing much better when Trump was in office. Just look at it from a business perspective.
Yeah.
So this was another great topic that we was talking about, because that could be a whole nother topic too. But like you were saying,
Jacob gonna bring the heat.
Bring it, Jacob.
Bring
that's what I be talking about.
That I swear that touched right on, because it's like, but again, I said that people took it personal when he got in. That's why he didn't have no friends. And because it wasn't about Republican or Democratic. He's a businessman. And when he saw the state of the affairs of America as a business, he knew that we was going into the decline of where we are right now.
Wrong direction.
Where now everybody else's dollar. So for me, I used to defend that, you know, when he would say make America great again, he made it emotional for us to think that it was about black. No, he's talking about when we were financially the leaders. Now we outsource everything. We take more advantage of our own people, right? Because we go over there to China and make it for $10, right? 10 cents, maybe the iPhone back in the day when he was going through that when Apple was shut down because he wasn't letting their stuff come in and out without y'all paying taxes. So now you charging us. That iPhone is expensive in the United States of America. And so the $1,000 return you gave yourself when you didn't even put jobs in the country, put them at a more of an advantage, right? And now it's like, when all of the businesses start thinking about selfish gain and not community, like us being a community that together as America, as long as we can do all of that. There was a girl on live that was saying, somebody was saying, well, can you give me Hobby Lobby prices? But her and her husband was actually building the frames. And I think they had to double reuse wood for like $29.99, right? And they wanted it for like, let's say, the Hobby Lobby prices. And she's like, y'all have to understand, we live in America. Mm-hmm. My thing ain't outsourced. I have to pay people minimum wage to work for me so that they can survive. And on top of that, I still have the funding and this and this and this. So you want me to give you prices as if I am a machine. Come on now. In which there is, I don't even know the person, but it's costing me this much for them to even create. So it's like people have a false idea of even business, because if you are doing it and cutting, you're doing all this by yourself, your time is valuable. If I got a system where 1,000 damn shirts is coming in, then my time is not as valuable because it's already done for me. I'm literally just showing up and saying, hit the daggone thing. It's already coming in. But if my system is to create, meaning it's taking time out of my life, then you don't have the right to devalue what somebody who's got a whole machine backing them and put it on the same value as that. So it's the discredit of not understanding business and how in order for you to be at a advantage, it's got to be when you go into the one person before opposed to you having to go through 10 different people to accomplish your goal. So it's going to be more expensive for somebody like me or you who's just starting out than Walmart, who can buy it for 10 cents on a dollar so you can get the discount. So if you don't understand, when you're shopping with small businesses and businesses that don't have employees and momentum, or they can only afford to have 2 or 3 employees, is mainly because they don't have the overhead to get the discount at a wholesale price. So their time is valuable, and you got to know that. And so it's disrespectful and discredited to not understand business before you run in your mouth. Because if I was like Hobby Lobby, then you wouldn't even speak to me. Because you don't know who running Hobby Lobby. You don't know them people. Them people is living behind a gate, and they on vacation right now on the boat while they waking up to money in their thing. You don't know them. So how you think you got access to people in a discount? You can't have access in a discount. You paying $1,000 for a Gucci shirt, and I bet you don't even know them.
They spoke with them China prices.
And China prices is not our prices. Unless you can afford to even get the overhead, because the shipping alone is a fee. The shipping alone is another price.
Come on, Jacob. He says AI intelligence will whip out humanity when it comes to the working class family.
And that's what they're doing. Can you see that?
That's Jacob? A whole nother. That freaking
We just got 3 topics
that's
in this
that's
one.
Why I said, come on, Jacob. You know, when you get started.
But it all falls under why the government has to shut down. Because we don't value each other. Because if we valued each other, they can sit down and have a respectable conversation and get to the bottom of this. Because it's sad when there's money sitting and the people fighting over where it goes. It's like kids when the parents die, right? The money there, and we all fighting over who get what, how it go. And so nobody's spending this money. Matter of fact, the government eating the money while y'all fighting about the money. And so y'all going to have 10% of the money when all is said and done anyway. It's like, really, what are we doing? That's why the love of money is the root to all evil, honey. It gets us lost in the source instead of really using our heart space to dictate what are we doing and how many people are affected by our inability to come to a solution. If you are put in a position to represent people, then you guys need to be quicker to solution-based situations than y'all are. Resolutions, right? Solution-based. Y'all should be manufacturing in resolutions. And I'm talking about quick resolution because the slowness of it affects so many people.
Your time. Come on, Jacob.
Everything going up, but that price they paying you. That's what I know.
Everything. Because gas is still high. Jacob says, the shift between spiritual beliefs and business beliefs will bump heads and people will be at odds because wealth over inequality will be a problem in America because the U.S. was built off of money and the poverty.
Come on now.
And the poverty communities will suffer more than it has ever. That's why communism and globalization, along with gentrification, come on, Jacob, will damage the Black community, along with the darkness and destruction of rap music, damaging the minds of the youth. And sexual assault and rap and human trafficking will.
You're going to give us some more. Is there more? He stopped. Will ... Let me finish you.
Look, he needs to be on. You need to come on.
Right. It will cause a whole lot of friction. And I think that is what it's all about, right? Because if you look at it, everything is creating a pattern of destruction.
Come on now.
So whether okay, here we go. However, go ahead.
Nonprofits and church communities will serve under the 501c3 nonprofit law, will serve along people who invest in the natural resources of food and holistic practices. Man, Jacob, what you talking about?
And then that's another thing. You got to not allow even the church to get caught up in the money. Right? Because there was a clip I saw of even Tupac, where he was even way back then talking about the churches and how they're on every block and they have bigger buildings and all of this other stuff, but then there's still poverty all outside the building, right? And that enough of them are building from the inside out instead of the outside in. Which community churches should be the one thing that starts on the outside in, right? Because you already develop an understanding in a relationship. So now we building all this beauty and the people outside are struggling and can't even understand. So we don't got nowhere to sleep. And there's this 6,000 square foot building empty every night, but there's homelessness, right? And so it just goes to that whole thing where it's like, okay, however, the nonprofits and church communities will serve under that, right? That where you don't get tax appropriation, right? So now all of the money has to be allocated to the community at a certain rate, right? And so if it's 60-40 where you have to pay your expenses before you put to the community, which is how 501c3 nonprofits operate, right? The community is supposed to take care of it. Now, but if the rule is 60-40 and my building is a $2 million building, then by the law, I can appropriate that money to the building. Because if I got $10 million, $6 million goes to the upkeep, $4 million is going to go to the people, right? So by law, it's okay. But by spirit, by us supposedly to give to the poor, by us supposedly to create rich minds out of poor mindsets, meaning created wealth from the inside out, right? Equipping people so that the whole block is wealthy, right? Because if I found out if I go over here and it's gonna send my life in the uphill because I know A, B, C, and a third, then that's the class I'm teaching everybody. And I'm making you get this. And I'm telling you, I'm going to serve you in this magnitude. And my finances is going into your education so that, like Jacob says, they can't come back in and take your houses and take your, because you don't have the education to know, ooh, instead of spending a year worth of Jordans could have cost me, if my whole family wearing Jordans, it could have cost me $10,000 went to Jordans this year. But if I had took that $10,000 and fixed the outside of my house, then I now created a rich mind, right? So I didn't get caught up in to look the part. I was actually creating value in what really had value, right? But because of the misappropriation of funds and because of the miseducation and because of that long-term memory loss that sometimes church folk have with the world, right? It's hard for you to actually pull them in a loving way and be like, let me tell you something. I remember when I was broke and all I did was pray. And I'm going to be honest with you. God never showed up until I got off my ass and got an action for my attraction. That's the conversation you need to know. That he heard my cries, but he said that faith was freedom after insight to higher self. Because once he heard me crying, he knew I knew what I needed. So then now the only thing is to go get it, right? And so it's going back into that whole circle of understanding that we always get caught into these situations and these moments, mainly because greed. I want to be the most known one. I want to did it. I need to have this, or yeah. If I make it look like the world, then they'll receive me. No. Why don't you love them like the world love them? Don't make it look like the world. Love them like the world, because what the world does is they don't judge them. They love them. It ain't what they got, it's how they make them feel, which makes them want to do what they did to get what they got. So if you make them feel better, they're going to want to do what you did to get what you got. So it's all about being the evidence for God. And many of us are the promise of God, but not the process of God. And without the process, the promise is misconstrued and you get lost in translation, i.e. churches, i.e. communities, i.e. 501c3s, i.e. the government. You are just a facilitator. You're not an owner of nothing. And you're not even facilitated in a way that offers a healing, a growth, a change. Because you cannot possibly be on the block for 20 years and ain't no change in the neighborhood. Then what is your all you made of? So it's really accountability, and many people don't have accountability because then they get lost like in the dream.
Because I was watching the news the other day. I would think it was yesterday. And
oh man, it was about to get deep on him.
The humane society with the animals.
Saying inhumane. They call it inhumane.
Put the dogs down and all of that because they need shelter and home, and they trying to expand. So I was seeing where they have this warehouse building that they're selling the donated items for like Halloween and Christmas holiday coming up. And she was like, we don't buy none of this. This is all given to us by donations. And this building, this warehouse building, we ain't paying nothing for this. It was donated to us.
Yeah.
And I'm saying to myself, we got freaking human beings, homeless, all of this, and we doing all of this. I'm just like,
but you know what it boils down to, and that's what I had to learn because I would take it personal. But it's just that everybody has their responsibility, ability of measurement in which you can respond, and so that's why everybody has a certain feeling because God is into making sure everything gets covered, not just your thing, not just her thing, not just his thing. He's about everything, and so if it triggers you, then that's your thing, and it's your responsibility to be the driving force at whatever ability that you can do. So everybody's not going to be Martin Luther King, and everybody's not going to be Malcolm X, and they're not going to be Rosa Parks, and they're not all going to be Obama.
I am Malcolm X.
Everybody's going to be their own piece of enough in order to create the vision and the responsibility that God has in alignment for your assignment. So when you can see people go to that many lengths, that means what kind of work? She found somebody who loved animals, who had the overhead because maybe they never got to have kids. So that desire and that stuff for humans, they was drawn into animal, always was there for them, always had them. They never was alone. So they got plenty of money. There's people who die. Oprah ain't got no kids. She gonna die with trillions of dollars. She gonna put it out to who she feels. So if her relationships have been closer to animals than to human beings, then that's where her heart space is gonna go. So it's gonna be like that money's gonna go to places you be like, well, as much well-rounded you are in your life is meaning then you're gonna divide into 12 different appropriations. But if I don't have a wide life, and my life just consists of me coming home with 8 cats, and I never had kids, and I just was working every day, and I made all this money, then my passion is going to be, I'm ready to look to all the cats, because that's the love of my life. So we also got to understand that when you see people going that far, it's only to say to you, well, how far can you go in the area of your responsibility? And so if you feel homelessness is yours, then you need to go hard, find somebody, Google stories of people who was homeless before, write a letter to all of those people who arrived, who used to be homeless, because now you know that's their heartstring. And then say, well, do you think you can make donations? Because I'm trying to get this building. And then somebody may say to you, because God said you got to act to receive. Man, guess what? My friend has a building that's just sitting there. Because you have a nonprofit, they write it off to you, so they get paid for that building. But your 501c3 paperwork makes them say the building is $1 million a year. We write it off to her. We sign $1 million. They're going to get a credit, 100% return on their 501c3. As long as you donate, they're going to get 100% back on their investment. That's why taxpayers and people with money always go into nonprofits, whether it's Goodwill. That's a 501c3. So now I'm going to write that off. 100% of what I gave, you get 100% back. That's the way of making the people in better positions take care of the community, which is why they don't charge you taxes, so that you can use all of that funds to appropriately dissolve whatever thing you're tackling. So if homelessness is what you're tackling, then that's what your thing is to dissolve. So you're going to target people who deal with homelessness, right? If healing is what you're attacking, then that's your. So you have to tackle people who are dealing with healing and mindset and self-worth, right? So you really just gotta find the person and just keep on asking in order to receive a building, maybe, or a thing. So it's just God's way of showing you. Look at Kippy Dunn for even the animals. Don't you know I love people more than animals? But she was about her business and her assignment to what she's called to. So that is the evidence of if you create a plan. It don't matter if you're a good person or a bad person. If you do a system of work, everybody's going to reap results, because faith is freedom after insight to higher self. Nothing more, nothing less. If you get about business, you'll be surprised how many hearts or feel like your heart and pour into your heart is just having the access. And some people have more access to others. Some people know more people that got more money. Because if somebody that's a star woke up tomorrow with one of the kids and be like, oh, it'll be easier for them to gain access, to get all their rich mamas, friends, and dads and say, oh, can you donate into my thing? Because they have access. So sometimes you got to dig to the well to get access. And sometimes the well is just in your yard. Yep.
Man, listen.
But the grind is in it.
You had that combo in your mouth all that time.
Mm-hmm.
I know that thing good as so. I'm mad at myself. She don't chew that thing. Jacob says, if we're looking at society, social media causes our children to go through many health issues. Social media are definitely raising some of our children. Mental stems from a lot cyberbullying off the internet. If you look at behavioral science of mental health and behavioral health meet each other, and it's damaging to the families on many levels.
For real.
Yes, that is so true. Got to pay attention, honey. What they on this social media doing and looking at, and how they processing it, right? What do y'all feel about marriages and how the youth are exposed to that is damaging to a child? And how do they understand this when they don't understand the natural woman and the natural kids' emotions are all over the place, and they can't even understand or enjoy childhood? Adults really need to do better. They can't enjoy child. You be explosive. Jacob said, y'all ready? Y'all want this tsunami?
I mean, they can't. I mean, what do you feel about how the youth are exposed to, like, listen, that is why me and my husband, I said we have to start like a marriage university for people who are married still, who want to be married, who are single, because I realized it's just having real conversations, right? We in a level, that's what we just had that conversation the other day. Are men really intimidated by your boss status or your lack of time status, right? So that's still all in the realm of marriages, right? People thinking that they can do it alone when originally it says, right? When two touch and agree, it is so. That means there's no questions, right? It is done because now you have two of the forces. So I think that youth are trying so hard to heal past their parents' brokenness that they're missing that love was the greatest gift of all, right? And that sometimes you got to go through in order to grow through and get into position because it's going to cost you something. And we have come up in a microwavable world where everybody thinks that everything is just 1, 2, 3, and nobody wants to process anymore. I got a whole saying where your purpose is not microwavable. It's like Big Mama's cooking. It takes time. You have to be patient. You also have to understand that Big Mama didn't come out cooking like that. That it took years of her measuring before then she just knew what to sprinkle. So you might have saw her in the last stage when she was sprinkling. And to you, it looked like microwavable because it seemed like grandma cooked in 30 minutes. It seemed like, but it was because she first cooked for 4 hours. And then she created systems to limit things she needed to do in order to increase the flavor and diminish the time. That's what creating a valuable, worthy time looks like. But it doesn't come without the effort and the traveling of doing it the long way before you went the shortcut, right? And so everybody wants a shortcut to life. They want a shortcut to a successful marriage. Everybody want hashtag goals until you find out what hashtag goals really mean. Hashtag goals really mean you got to get in the fire. It means that you got to argue and get over it. It means that you got to love somebody in spite of, but because y'all are planning to work this out. It means that you can't take all of your grandma and your grandfather's heart complaining without seeing why they stayed for the maintaining. So we do kind of look at the cup half full, half empty instead of half full, because you can complain about what they went through, but can you talk about the legacy that was built in the midst of that type of endurance? What was created, what was built, how the kids got an understanding, how they got a mindset, how they learned how to do a whole lot of stuff, how they can learn to respect the role of either of the two. So I think it's really, we just live in a world where we just want quick stuff. We looking at everybody from the outside. Nobody goes into the inside. So you've never been a fly on the wall and you assume. And you know, they say when you assume, you may get an ass out of you and me, because now I'm involved in your assumptions. So it's really understanding that it requires us doing the work. The rap music make you feel, and it's gotten so bad that even when the woman got into position to now represent themselves, they are doing the same thing to each other that was done to them. So it's not even nobody's growing up. Everybody is chasing the bag and they chasing the look and they chasing so many things. And I don't think enough women are.
That's crazy because I'm like,
are being responsible with the influence that they are having on so many.
Each other. We need to be uplifting each other and collaborating with each other without issues and without, I don't be knowing what be going on, but I'll be hearing about such and such is riffing with this one and this one. And it's like, why? We gotta do better with each other. Like, come on, we have enough of other races and cultures, and with us, we don't need to be that way with us. We need to do better with us because we have enough of outside people, So it's just like she said something about her, or he said something. What's the problem?
It's just healing.
Collab and get this money and live lives.
When people heal, when people really heal from the inside out,
the same issue, but
it will change.
Talking about?
I think I got America's Got a Hole in Your Soul.
It's like, why? But yeah, it's so much stuff now. Kids could be, kids are exposed to a lot, and you got to be very conscious of what are you exposing these kids to, because they grow up with memories and stuff that they shouldn't even be attached with, but it's always going to be with them, and it affects them even, as they get older as grown adults. So it's just a lot. Like you said, everybody gotta dissect stuff and focus on their their whole issue thing. Passionate side of what they're passionate about. That part. Everybody has something that they're passionate
Jacob
about.
says many women are what?
Many women are attracted to a man's intellect, but they are married and can't find this type of attraction at home with their husband. So how does this play out for them mentally and spiritually?
Many women are attracted to a man's intellect, but they are married and can't find this type of attraction at home with their husband. Oh, you're saying that they are
already married and they're attracted to another man's intellect, and that's not who their husband is, because they don't have that at home with their husband. So how does this
play out for them mentally and spiritually,
honey?
Oh, honey, that's the price of admission. Because I really feel like
you done.
I can assure you. No, this is what I'm going to say. I can assure you that they were attracted to the intellect of the husband when they married the husband, right? So it's not even a change, it's the evolution of relationships, right? And so I don't know that they are not attracted to the intellect. It's just probably different. It may be a new conversation more so. But I think the issue is maybe people don't actually find out how really deep people are, because people get, when you get into marriage and you're like, and you've been married for some time, you can easily get caught up in day to day, right? So when you're finding out a stranger got a good intellect, it's probably because, first of all, they're trying to be smarter than they are, right? Because that's how he's doing, right? Or he is actually tapping into whatever y'all got going on. But I think the biggest issue is y'all don't take time to actually converse, and you find out that who you with probably have just as much of an intellect. It's just that you don't have the time to do it. So if both people are working, and that's your, how they used to say, that's my husband, wife, or I mean my job. What is it? The work husband and work wife, right? It's really just meaning that y'all just got time with each other that you used to have with probably the mate that you used to have, which is why it can get a little confusing. Because if you're stuck in an intellectual conversation, then I don't see why that has to move any further than you actually having a good conversation with somebody. It's like if me and my homegirl, when we get into, or me and my cousin, it seems anytime we talk, we vibe off each other. No, so the problem is you wanting everything in one package. So maybe you have everything, and maybe your husband don't think like you. Well, that's why opposites attract, so that you can invest some thoughts into him that he probably don't think, and that you, and they can invest something into you, because that person that thinks just like you, get with that person and see what happened at the end. You guys will now be arguing over who right in this era, because both of y'all think y'all the master of both of the same topics. So what seems to be good starting in will definitely turn out bad in the end, because opposites really do attract, because then you're intrigued. Then I swear my husband made me think outside the box on so many different ways, and that grew me more than anything, because it is a difference of opinion. So it's iron sharpens iron. So yeah, it definitely gives you a different perspective. So I think the problem is not really that somebody may be intellectual and then they got this marriage, is that they haven't spent the time like they used to in the beginning to cultivate a new understanding, because y'all ways change and what y'all do change and y'all responsibility change. Because what me and my husband had to do when we was first starting out as to now 21 years later, totally different. And so where we would disagree or argue 3 times a day, Now we may find an argument one time a week, right? Because we have evolved into each other's understanding. And sometimes we forget, which is why we have an argument again, because you realize that we still different people who are learning to understand the person we fell in love with, the person we like the most. So I can like you for 5 seconds because you're saying what I'm thinking. But would I like you in all the other areas? Because that's just one facet of my life. So it's like if I'm already thinking and we're already intellectual, honey, I can catch that in a lot of places, right? So it doesn't have to be my life partner that has to be on the same intellectual thing as me, because he may got street smarts and I may got book smarts, or he may got book smarts and I may got street smarts, but together we got each other back. So I do want you to be smart, but I do want you to have balance, and I don't want people to get caught up in new relationships, because new relationships it makes it seem like you mind.
Because just looking at what you're saying is like attracted, right? Mm-hmm. So attraction is, honey, many women can be attracted to a man's intellect. A woman wants somebody who, think on their feet and, intellectual. Now, once again, people evolve. So maybe she wasn't into that when she met the husband, right? Yeah. So that wasn't a factor. So now that you're evolving and getting older, right? It was whatever it was for your husband then, it could still be for your husband now. But now you into this man who you attracted to because of how he's saying stuff and how he's making stuff make sense to you in your head now that you've evolved, right? Because we don't stay the same. We do change as we get older. We think differently as we get older. So I could understand. So how would that play a role mentally and spiritually? The whole thing is, but how far do you take attraction? And you can't make your husband be this man that you intellectually attracted to, because that's not who your husband is. So that's for you as the wife to know who you married to, and you just got to keep the attraction at bay, but you control how it's going to play out for you mentally and spiritually. I mean, you don't break up a marriage because some man is intellectual. And, no, we're not doing that.
But I think, and I also want to say, because I was talking to one of my kids, and they be having all their little situations with from their friends stuff, right? And so they be talking, and I was like, wow, the new generation of women is looking for trauma. They looking for trauma and they looking for drama, because it was a scenario where somebody's in a relationship for months, and these are kids in relationships. They in high school, for God's sake, so they don't really got a clue. But to listen to their mindsets, right, is so boring. Even when he's never arguing, he's never doing this, and like it's like they looking at Krishan Rock
smoke.
They looking at the wrong people as influence, right? To make them feel love is so traumatic, right? And combative. And so you're trying to find trauma in your life. And I think that's what you were saying, Jacob, with the rap and all of the discourse, it just goes into their head. So you now got somebody that's good for you, and you're creating havoc in other ways to break somebody, because you just think they're too nice and they're too calm and they're too. And I'm telling you, this new generation of girls are looking for the smoke. They are
with the man.
They love, like Jacob said, they love drama. They do. And maybe because you have you have your son, so sons don't really come back. Well, my sons come back and talk about so much stuff, but they haven't reached that age yet. But see, I have an 18-year-old daughter, and I have a one turning 18 in October, and another one turning 16 in November, and then one that's 22. So we had 3 girls before we even hit boys, and boys are a little bit more nonchalant. But when you listen to the stories, I'm like, yo. When I say that women need to get there together and grab these young girls and grab your daughters and grab your nieces. Well, first of all, grab yourself. Get yourself right. Because you are showing them the wrong way to love. You are getting them prepared for all of that. Get you first. No, let me start with you.
Get yourself together, because
let me tell
you. At you.
Get you together first, right? Get what you're saying out loud together. Get how you are participating in your relationships together. Take accountability, because trust and believe they are watching the women around them. And they're making stuff okay because it's okay for them. And they're also watching their daddy. And if your daddy ain't treating the women well and you mad because your daughter, it's like you made it okay. You made them feel like you could do this and still love me. Right. Seriously. Right. Because I made your love acceptable. I made your love okay. And so I accepted that type of love. And then when I got into a relationship where the love wasn't really like that, oh, he don't really care about me because he ain't acting crazy. Oh, he don't really care about me because when I argue, he like, oh, he just want peace. I don't think that way. You see what I'm saying?
Calmness, child, coming from
but you a 40-year-old who had to go through the trauma to realize that don't nobody got time for that.
You ain't checking up on me. Not that you ain't worried about me, but you like
you don't see it the same.
Yeah, I don't see it the same.
They see it like you don't want me, you don't like me, you don't. You see what I'm saying? Unless you fighting for me, unless we go like it's toxic. Oh, no, it's a toxic love. And it's not even a toxicity that they earned. They didn't earn that toxicity. You know why? Because that ain't what happened to them. You know, some people are dealing with trauma that got them like that. That ain't trauma.
Right.
We had that 1 hour too.
That's what you want? Yeah, Jacob, this generation. Wait, let me just put this on here first. Yeah, Jacob says this generation loves drama that leads to trauma. Is this the parents' fault or is it society's fault? That's what we talking about. It's crazy. Why they like the drama? And it's definitely gonna lead to trauma.
It's the parents' fault.
Spiritually and physically.
It's the parents' fault. Mentally. I assure you, the minute something go wrong with your kids, it's your fault. Whose fault is it?
Who ramming them? You are social media.
You know, so I mean, there was a time before where they was old enough to get on the line. You didn't let them go online. There was a time before when you couldn't do. You just got to parent them, and you got to be honest with them. We have a hard time actually having an honest conversation. Honest. Did you read this one?
No, I just went because we was just talking about that.
So yes. That's perfect. Yeah.
So I got to read that one.
The generation loves drama. It loves to drama.
That's the one I did.
It's the parents.
Yeah.
I think it's both. It's both because to whom much is given, much was required, and it is required. And so when you know that you are an influencer, when you know that people are watching you, then you gotta have a sense of humanity and responsibility towards the parts that they don't understand. So I think it is an overall
conversations that need to be had. So you got
coffee and conversations.
Yeah. You gotta listen to what they're saying, and you gotta correct it at the door. Mm-hmm. So no matter what they seeing or looking at on social media, they understand a right and wrong sense. Yeah. So you don't just follow with what they're doing and what you're watching. Yep. You have a sense of right and wrong. You have a sense of
accountability,
but what you call that? Chivalry. Being a man and being a woman, right? Mm-hmm. What it is to be, how to treat feminine, a woman, and how a man is supposed to treat a woman, right? And how a woman, that's your job as the parent, is to make sure no matter what they're looking at and listening to or whatever, you gotta still do your part, so that you know when they make their own decisions, they still, it's not like, well, I never did have the or I never did speak to them about, you know. Mm-hmm. So now you saying, well, damn, I never did talk to them. Yeah, that is racism.
That's accountability, yeah.
Right. Yeah. As a parent,
the hard conversation.
And when they say stuff, you check them. You don't be like, let's talk.
Yeah.
So,
and talk in a way that's teaching, right? Because you're being transparent. I often say that the word transparent has the word parent in it. That means you have to be crystal clear. God knew that he sent them through you, and that you were their cheat sheet, because you could have avoided, your kids would have avoided so much more if you were way more honest.
Be honest and vulnerable with your children.
The word.
Be very
like Brene Brown, so that was her main thing.
My mother ain't never. My daddy ain't never. No. Now they daddy done sold drugs. Mama done been abused, living on the street. Like, we be real. Life ain't no crystal stick. And
I made those sacrifices so that you. It was like we living in a good neighborhood, and you like the kids were high school kids, all in middle class homes. They got big yards. You know all of this. And they're robbing people's cars in the morning that are warming up their cars in our neighborhood. This is not about, it is a board. It is I don't have nothing to do. Mommy and daddy is working so much that I just got to get their attention however I can. So I got a whole rink.
I'm bored.
I ain't struggling. I ain't got no problems, but I'm just so that we could be in a coup to do something. We bored and we're stealing people's cars that are warming up in the morning. Exactly.
We need some excitement.
Get your kids.
Nothing to do. Right?
Get your
so
kids.
Instead of them creating games like we did when we was young, these are the things they're creating to do. Oh, this gonna be fun. I dare you, right?
They up early in the morning, stealing cars at 6:30 a.m. That's how much planning they do.
Repercussions behind doing stuff like that, right? And it's like, oh Lord, of all the things y'all got me to think.
Somebody kids got me that morning, and I was very upset. But you know what I said? Even in the midst of that, when they had caught the kid that afternoon, I had the kids praying. They was like, oh, we prayed all day. They had my car back by 3. They stole it at like 6:45 in the morning, okay? But in the moment that I was upset, the next thing they was like was a bunch of kids and all of that. And then when they got me, it was making it into this big rink, and they wanted me to do it. And I'm like, see, now what we're not going to do is bring the kids down. But I would like to talk to the kid. I would like to have a conversation. I would like to actually invest some of my time in them instead of charging them with, because clearly they are needing some sense of validation. They need to get clarity. They need to know. They need to understand that I was getting up early to go to work. I need you to understand that your parents go to work every day so that y'all can have, they don't want to take out because you are bored, that you can use your time and energy. Here's different things that y'all could be doing. They need influence in order to be accountable to what they're doing. And sometimes the parent just didn't make the time, because they so busy not wanting to be struggling. They know the bills is coming. They know their responsibility. But one of the most important jobs you have is to be a parent. And maybe taking care of them got in the way of the most important job, which was their mindset. That understanding, that being able to know that I'm putting a good person back out into the world. And so all of that working and giving them all of that without supplying them with a sense of responsibility, a sense of understanding, a sense of validation, a sense of role model. You are their first role model. And I'm going to be honest, there are so many mamas that don't want to be grandmamas, who don't want to be, because everybody is now chasing the dream. And what dream is bigger than legacy?
They're chasing this money to pay these bills.
Right. And I remember when
everything going up but the
I definitely remember that my godfather used to say, and my godfather is my grandmother's brother. So when I'm little, he older. So his mindset was already there. And he said, we'll work 3 and 4 jobs for a new car, but not for this or that, and building family and legacy. So my thing is that the most important job you have is to how they think. God, when they spoke biblically about being rich, it was not about what they had. He always made the rich people give everything away. He wanted to know that your mind was rich. Because if you was a poor mind that I can increase and turn into rich mind, then you become wealthy. And I'm talking about the WELLTHY. But if you was a rich person and your mind was poor, God had no value with you because you missed the whole point. So yeah, listen, we done went all over the place, Jacob. You got us everywhere.
All right, Jacob said, what is problematic situation with masculine women? Why is this a problem in today's society nowadays?
You know why.
Nowadays, the feminine woman and natural woman faces the challenges of society and many of their mates,
many on the down
low. And this causes mental health issues, emotional health issues, and it's spiritually damaging to one's soul. It happens more than we realize.
Listen, again, I say, everything that he has put on this thing is some issues and situations that I heard that these young people are dealing with in high school. This right here.
Definitely.
So you are so right. The exposure, the acceptance, and the lack of parents having the hard conversations. And I think that's all it is, right? It's just, you can see it. You can smell it. You can feel it. But you just don't want to address it because somehow we think that becomes a part of us. But what becomes a part of you is your inability to confront the situation in order to fix it before you no longer can have control of the direction that is going in. And so many people try to act like they can't see stuff. And then it gets out of control because you don't want to face the fact that it may look like you did something wrong. The hell with what went right and what went wrong. Now is the time to seize the appropriate moment to make sure from here on out, it goes in the right direction. And so you would have to get rid of your ego, get rid of your she-go, get rid of your pride. Get rid of what you was doing it for. None of that matters. Start with I'm sorry and get to the bottom of what you can clearly see. Because if we can see it from over here, there ain't no way you can't see it from inside there. Now, you might not want to see it because it will cause you to be accountable for where you didn't know better. And that's okay.
Where you went wrong.
Because none of us know better. That's why no matter how perfect I think I done it with my kids and my husband, well, trust and believe, when they get old, they're going to have a list of things that we could have done different. And hopefully they'll apply it to their next generation so that they can be better than we were, right? But we don't got no list. We don't got no books. We was, 21 and 22 when we got married and started a family. 21 and 20 and 21 22 when we had her. So that was the beginning. So you had to grow up learning. So I think that it is important that we take accountability for what we didn't know when we didn't know it, and now that we are smarter, wiser, more understanding,
more educated,
that part, now we can impart our knowledge with a little bit of care because they need our expertise. You are an expert in a lot of this stuff that ain't nothing new under the sun. God ain't started nothing new under the sun. Jesus came and died for the same crap that's going on right now. So there is nothing new under the sun. But what is new is your ability to remove the shame and get in your lane and have real conversations with your kids. Because like Jacob said, mental health is at an all-time high. Trauma and looking for toxic stuff is at an all-time high. They don't even embrace peace. They want the smoke, right? And that's all it is. So I'm just saying, crazy. I'm just saying. Let's get this last comment for you.
Characteristics of some parents can be damaging to a child's future. Kids watch closely and they think it's okay because they've seen their parents act a certain way or use a certain language.
Yes.
Can parenting be too much for some people? And do most parents know what great parenting looks like? Are kids facing the trial and error of generational curses of a toxic bloodline?
No. You know what they're facing? The generational curse of lack of healing. When I get out of my feelings, I get into my healing. To this day, there are certain spaces and places that I still got to heal from. And I notice it when I'm triggered in certain areas. So I just think that we are works in progress, operating and guiding works in progress, right? Because as long as we're breathing, we are getting closer to wherever we're going. So every day we are becoming. So the curse of the toxic bloodline is not being able to accept that I am healing. It's not being able to accept that I don't got everything right. It's not being able to accept that I may need to ask for help from somebody else who is doing a better job at what I'm doing. Because just because you got the job don't mean everybody's good at the job.
No.
Right? Some people are better than others because of how they were what? Equipped, how they were loved, how they were nurtured, how they were taken care of. And so you expect somebody who has never been given certain things to now produce certain things, and it's just not a click for everybody. And when we think it is, the only thing that parent guarantees is the one way into this world that God gave, and that is through the body. It takes a sperm and it takes an egg, and you get to be a parent. So absolutely not. People are already ready. No, many of them are kids having.
Parenting is a job.
No, many of them could be kids having kids. Many of them are still in the middle of their trauma. Some people are in abusive relationship having kids. Some people are just a one night stand and had a kid. I mean, kids just come from sex. And that's it. Parenting comes from doing the work. Parenting is the ing. That's the most important part. You are not a parent. You are parenting. That means it is an act of doing. That means it is an act of correcting. That is an act of learning to apologize. It is learning to fix the things that you wish were fixed with you. It's learning to realize that it's not just in your DNA, but as you said, Jacob, it's in your CNA. SEENA. What I see, so shall I be. So if I see abuse, I'm probably going to be okay with abuse somehow. Sometimes if I see pain, I'm going to disperse pain. Sometimes if I've been taught to deal with people in an aggressive tone, I had to catch myself when I'm fussing and cussing my kids out, because I'm like, ooh.
If your parents cussing and using languages, you might grow up using that language when you get to that point. You like, well, shit, that's what I've seen. That means I'm really mad. You know what I mean? That means they really gonna listen, because I done got to this octave. It's like, shit, it used with my mom, so y'all better recognize.
Right.
Because I recognized when it was my turn. It's like,
so I mean, I think the hardest thing we have is accountability. The hardest thing we can accept is that we are toxic. And sometimes I'm toxic.
In all different ways.
Right? Sometimes I'm toxic and sometimes I'm not. And sometimes you're toxic and sometimes you're not. But the gift is in understanding when you are and when you are not. And then owning it.
And correcting it.
Owning it.
When you, When you recognizing it and own it, you do something about it.
And accept that you are INGing. So that means I'm still learning. Everything with the ING is the act of being in the act. Mm-hmm. And so you never stop parenting. You change the way you parent.
Right.
But
so now that
it
you're
changes.
A parent, you gotta start doing the work to parent.
Yes.
Do the parenting, because you made the decision to now be the parent. Or you are now a parent, so now you need to start parenting.
And sometimes you have the baby and realize, I'm not grown up for this. So I put them up for adoption because I feel like I don't have the. So,
I'm not equipped.
So people make those choices.
To parent the child, to do the parenting for this child.
And even that choice, they don't understand when there's so many people, when I do my healing sessions or the refill, there are so many people that suffer from abandonment. And they could have been adopted by somebody who was amazing, gave them everything. They could even see when they meet their actual parent, the trauma that was evoked in the other siblings, that they escaped is the word, and they still use a sense of victimism even on their reality, because they still tell themselves, why not me? Why didn't you struggle? They told themselves that they would have rather struggled just to be wanted. That's some crazy shit.
Drama and trauma.
But we never understand what we don't get, and we try to proclaim what we don't understand. And it just was set up that way. And so acceptance is the hardest thing, which is hard for us to actually show up in the ING of anything, because we're still stuck in who we were or what we experienced or what that looked like. So we can't never adjust to then evolve into who God wanted us to become from said action, said event, said thing. So that's, I think, the biggest issue with us is letting go so that we can grow. We're holding on to everything. Good, more bad than good, unfortunately, because if you held on to all the good moments, then the bad moments would just be a bump in the road, because every mountaintop requires a valley. For every situation that you go, oh, that was a high moment, that was a high moment, that was a high moment.
Versus concentrating on the lows.
That part.
And for some reason, we dwell in them lows, so we need more happy events to wash out the bad events. But you still gonna dwell on them bad events,
because that's that thing.
It's something about negativity.
I like it. Dwelling is healing.
Dwell.
No, serious. Dwelling is healing. Because to sit in that stuff is to be in the fire, the furnace of decisions that you need to get past.
It's like you could think of all this good stuff about the person, but that one bad thing, you will dwell on that bad, harp on that bad.
And that will be your main your main reason for the insanity, right? And so it is a hard pill to swallow, hunty. But let me tell you, we have been on. Thank you, Jacob, for keeping this conversation
so much,
afloat, honey, because we was like,
we started with the government shutdown, and Lord,
and this is all, we went.
And that's why it's conversations.
Let's talk about all the things that need to be addressed, so that we can be all better human beings.
To talk about. Come on now, what say you?
Oh, this has been a great segment, ladies. Thank you for dropping so many jewels. Thank you for making us go into our jewelry box. Good God Almighty. Thank you for allowing us to go into the jewelry box so that we could drop a jewel, honey. Because had you not asked us, what is that? Blessed are those that ask the questions.
What movie was that? Conversation is a treasure hunt. You never know what we're going to pull out the office.
It's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
I love it. That's why it's called Conversation.
So I will be reading from Precious Thoughts from the Soul. My first ever book of publication is my book of poetry. It consists of over 70-something poems, all original. So everything you hear when I lift up this book belongs to the thoughts of Precious Thoughts. No, let me stop.
Precious Thoughts from the Soul.
From the soul. But anyway, this one was called Hole in Your Soul. And this one was, this is at least 15 years old. And that's the part that I'm talking about, 2007. And I wrote this way before the book came out. So we're in 2023. So this is how long ago I've been on this. So it says, hole in your soul. It says, America has a hole in your soul for your yearning to see in everyone else what you wish you could be. We are so caught up in an image that our self-esteem is losing the race, for we are searching everywhere but in the mirror to see our face. Yes, our face, the person who God breathes life in from day to day. We are so caught in others' images that we can't find our own way. We are not being taught to embrace and love whom we are, and the impact is making us lose ourselves by far. Who am I, you ask? I don't even know, because I'm struggling with this hole I have embedded in my soul. You ask, what's the hole that I speak about? It's the insecurities we embrace and our whole being that we doubt. Why am I so skinny, so fat, so ugly, so misused? I've been lied about, molested, so hurt to the point I want to walk in your shoes. There's a hole in my soul, and you ask, how could this be? But the answer is so simple, because I've never had anyone validate me. You see, youth are losing their innocence at a very young age, and the outcome of this is sending their spirit into rage. Nowadays, after the hole in their soul is getting bigger, and all it is doing is making them pull the trigger, pulling the trigger on their hopes and dreams and values of their life. And they are filling the hole with lost inhibitions and the pain of all their strife. America's got a hole in your soul, and only God can heal your heart. And all he asks is for your true self, and he can grant you a brand new start. So the hole in your soul can only be filled when you begin to love who God created you to be, because you will never find yourself if you are ashamed of what you see. Tell yourself every day that you're special, and in God's image, there is none like you. And never forget to be true to yourself, in everything you do. And that, my dear, is what I've been on since I was a young little girl.
This
and
full
so
circle from the
we still got the
shutdown
same
to
stuff.
Everything Jacob presented us to talk
It's
about.
all in that poem.
It's all in that poem. America has a hole in its soul, down to the kids not understanding who they are, committing suicide, pulling the trigger. They don't even know who they are. They looking for their own. They looking everywhere because for validation instead of looking in the mirror and loving themselves to love.
Because when you pull the trigger, you pull the trigger on all of your dreams,
your hopes,
all of your aspirations. You let one moment rob you of a lifetime, right? One moment robbed you of a lifetime, and that's why we as parents have to seize these moments, because we are robbing our kids of a lifetime. Tell your story. Give God the glory. Let them know that you are the go-to. You are the HBIC. You need to let them know that I'm not talking this from listen, God sent you my way because he know I'm about that life.
Real gonna get, honey.
Be as about that life as you can be if you about that life. And if you not, then tell them where you get this from.
Wow.
You ain't been growed up like this. Look, you ain't been growed up like this.
Growed up like this.
Have a real conversation with your babies and help them navigate. That's why you are their guidance counselor. You guide them.
Come on now.
Don't give them advice, right? That advice is, they don't know where that came from. And advice, no, but when I guide you, it's because I showed you where I've been so that you know I'm equipped to take you so that you don't have to be going it alone. That's why I'm your guidance, because I got a light for your darkness, because I too have been there. That's the only way you can help somebody, is by reflecting on your experience so that they can trust that you know where you're going because you've been there before. Nobody wants to follow somebody that don't know where the hell they going.
And you'll be like,
I don't care if they are your kids.
Down this side street. I'm already been down that side street. You don't want to go down that side.
You don't want to go there.
Oh, you don't want to go there. But why don't I want to go? Just tell me I don't. Explain to me why I don't.
Remove the shame and get in your lane.
Come on. Because down that block is some hoes,
some old hoes down that block. You get, listen, son.
You don't know what goes on that street.
Well, listen, son. You won't get caught on that block. But I mean, all jokes aside.
That neighborhood or that block that your parents say, nope, don't go down there.
You
gotta listen. Oh no, that's what I was saying. That was the poem. Was the word? Okay. Thing we gonna do the poem.
Perfect, y'all. So let me tell you something. Y'all have spent some amazing time with us. That definitely wrapped it all up. If you want a hole in their soul. These are not on Amazon, but if you hit the link above, you can find. This is a collector's edition. This was my first ever book of poetry. This was snail mail, and so I may have about 10 of these actually left. I have to bring it back out
your book
and all of that.
Today.
So it is definitely a collector's. When I say it is many poems that will heal you. I even got a poem here, Sisterhood. I mean, you name it. Dr. Maya Angelou. I even got a poem in here about Oprah, Martin Luther King. Come on now. Moms Undying Soulmate, To Lose a Piece of One Heart. That's people who lose their child before, time. My Undying Plea. That's you trying to go to God to get a surrender. You know what I'm saying? Reclaim My Spirit. That's for all the people who have been molested as a child and you realize that the shame is not yours. I mean, Tears Are Answers. That's all the people who had to learn to love themselves so that they could teach people how to love them, their man, their woman. Come on, Not Used Up. That's celebrating the fact that I have been through some stuff, but God was turning me. He was molding me. He was making me. I ain't used up. I'm just used by God, honey. So what a good parent is. This is for your child elevating to different levels, and you have a hard time accepting their choices as you think it reflects to how you parent them. But God said this is their time to learn their testimony, just as you had to go through. They're gonna have to go through. They come through you. They don't belong to you. Listen, you go on and on. So I'm just saying, there's not a poem in there that you can't relate to, that won't shift a conversation, that won't be the only conversation. You get this book, and anytime somebody call you with a problem, you will find a poem for that.
Guaranteed.
You will find a poem for that. So whether it's a loss of a child, whether it's a loss of a spouse, whether it's a loss of yourself, because I'm the I choose me queen. And that's the thing that I want you to find the most. When I find me, oh my God, I can serve you. But until I choose me with no more excuses, I am nothing of value to you, because what I'm giving is empty until I can fill myself on enough. Then once I'm filled up on enough, I can overflow and pour into you at record breaking numbers, because when God says, when you love your neighbors as you first love yourself, now you're fulfilling a commandment, right? Now you're living in your organic, in your authentic self, because I am enough. Okay?
Full, not depleted.
Not depleted.
Come on now. Give me from your overflow.
Listen,
honey.
you not depleted, even though they cheated. Good God
Come
Almighty.
on now. You ain't used up yet. That part.
Come on now. What's the word for the INs for today? This has been a good. Ooh, this has been a good. It was a
Wednesday.
Like 90-minute session. Lord have mercy.
Wisdom Wednesday. Y'all better watch these replays and get your refill on this Wisdom Wednesday.
So let's see our INs, beautiful people. I am optimistic. I am noble, and I am extraordinary. Come on now.
Come on with you.
I am optimistic.
Extraordinary.
I am
optimistic, noble self.
Extraordinary. Extraordinary.
Come on now.
Come on now.
Look at that.
So if America has a hole in your soul, and you realize that, no, I'm not a part of my valleys. I am the value of my valleys. And I'm optimistic, even though yesterday wasn't as perfect as I wanted. I thank God he woke me up today because he knew I was extraordinary. And I'm going to tap into my noble part, right? The part that means that I am attached to a king, right? King Almighty. That means you're noble. You come from high regards. Your daddy is a king. And so if I don't know that I'm extraordinary, even in the midst of my valley moments, then what good is the value of my experience if I'm not going to deliver to make a difference in my optimism so that I can be the example of a kingdom? You are a child of God. So how are you showing up in order to make sure all of God's children are taken care of? Did you see the light shift when I did like that?
Wherever you better be optimistic.
So now that's a word.
That's a word. No.
This has been a revival.
You better know what you know, what you know.
Listen, I'm gonna start doing revivals.
Come on now.
Like
NOE.
Chef Ron keep on saying, you need to do revivals. And we did the virtual one. The virtual one was pretty good. So imagine we do an in-person one.
I keep hearing that. We need a revival.
Lord, we need a revival. Because it's not your fault that your spirit is depleted. It's not your fault that your soul's posture is in slump format. But I promise you that if you show up enough, that you will erect your spirit.
Come on now.
Get your soul's posture right in order to give birth to all the things that God has implanted you with, right? Because you're somebody's sperm to their seed, honey. You're somebody's extra part. Somebody's waiting for you. And it could be your kids. It could be your spouse. It could be your co-worker. It could be your family member. God only knows who's attached to you. But as long as you know who you are and that you are extraordinary, that you live from optimistic standpoint so you don't let what went wrong get you down, and that you are of noble descent.
Come on now.
So that you know that, hell, if I belong to a king, then surely
you don't know who I am.
There's greatness standing around. I just got to get to the castle's gate. So God said, come on in. There's a space for you. If you can let go of the stuff that you cannot change in order to be the change I called you to be. I'm just saying. We out of it. We're going to be in August 24th. We're going to be in the real palace. I mean, August 24th. Why did I say October?
We gonna be in
August 24th. We are definitely going to be in the palace. But without further ado, remember, it is a relay race, and somebody is relying on you to turn your heartbeat into a soul beat in order to leave your soul print. Because the fingerprint tells us what you got wrong in this world, but the soul print, it tells us what you got right, and what God got right is you. So remember, we don't compete. Oh, no, no, no. We complete. And the difference between those two words is the L, because L stands for love, and love grows everything. So remember, you can never turn on anybody else's light. Oh, no, no, no. But you can provide enough light for them to find their switch. So stay lit in this world so somebody can find their way out of the darkness. It is your responsibility. Remember, that's the ability of measurement in which you can respond. The guest of the day is Jacob. Thank you, Jacob, for being so much a part of the conversation. We celebrate you on this day, and I like that. We have a guest of the day. And today, Jacob, you are the guest of the day. Thank you for conversing with us.
Right.
And thank you for all of you, because a good number of you are tuned in.
The most, because it's all about conversation.
Yes, and a number of you have been really tuned in. And so even though you've been silent, I receive your presence, and we thank you for even being here. So those of you that are on, we can see the numbers, even though we can't see your names. Thank you. Oh, Chef Ron is on. He quiet, ain't he? Yes, he just watching. Hey, hubby.
I know a lot of y'all just be watching.
Yeah. So that's what I said. I can see the numbers, and so I thank everybody for tuning in. Thank you for keeping the conversation going. And remember, you've been tuned into Coffee and Conversations. So don't forget to wake up and make today count. Peace out.
See you on Friday.
Love goes everything. So love yourself first.